Analyze the features of Bismarck's external policy. In this kind of arrangement, we need to understand the features of Bismarck's external policy. We are saying after the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 71, Otto von Bismarck was anxious to isolate France. We believe by this time Bismarck was anxious to isolate France because he feared that France was going to make a what? A revenge. You remember that after the Franco-Prussian War, France lost two territories, Alsace and Lorraine. And by this time, Otto von Bismarck wanted to isolate France because he feared that it was likely that France was going to make a what? A revenge. Now, Bismarck also wanted to maintain Germany's supremacy in Europe. He wanted a great external policy that he had Germany's supremacy, where German was supposed to be rated number one in the whole of where? In the whole of Europe. He wanted peace in Europe and keep on good terms with Austria and Russia. The man wanted peace in where? In Europe. The main agenda why he was fighting was to help Germany get its what? Unification. Now Germany had got its unification. So the agenda he wanted to make a peace on condition that no country disturbs a country called what? German. Now, how did Bismarck, what were the features of Bismarck's external policy? We need to understand the features. Of course, Bismarck entered into the Drakensband alliance with William I, Francis Joseph of Austria, and Tsar Nicholas I of Russia. The game was that in case one of us is attacked, we needed to join hands together to fight a common what? Enemy. And in this, Bismarck had a great foreign what? Policy. And even he managed to promote Germany's supremacy over which countries? Over Russia and Austria. Because it is Bismarck who formed the alliance what? System. So we are saying among the features in his foreign policy or external policy, he entered into the Drakensband alliance. That was very important. Another key aspect, Bismarck supported the establishment of the Third French Republic in a country called what? France. The game was, he wanted to isolate a country called what? France. Because other countries were led by kings, he wanted France to be like a different country and it could not get allies from other what? Other countries. Then we are realizing Bismarck's verbal war threats. Verbal war what? What was the verbal war threats? After, you remember, France had to pay a lot of money after the Franco-Prussian War. Bismarck made the money very high, where he didn't want France to manage to pay money in a small period of what? Time. But France surprised the whole of Europe. Within 2 years, it had finished paying the what? The money. Now Bismarck has started threatening a country called what? France. I'm going to attack you. And by this time, this was the verbal war threat. And of course, it kept France in a fearful situation. France could not easily launch a war against a country called what? Yeah. German. Otto von Bismarck, a great thinker in politics. Then the Berlin Congress of 1878. What happened in Berlin? It is said in the Ottoman Empire, Bismarck had problems in the Ottoman Empire. It is said Austria and Russia were conflicting over two territories, Bosnia and Herzegovina. And by this time, Bismarck, appearing as a man of peace and a honest broker in politics, he called the Berlin what? Congress to solve the problems in the Ottoman what? Empire. And in this he promoted the greatness of which country? He promoted the greatness of which country? German. Then the dual alliance of 1879. You remember the Berlin Congress of 1878 made Bismarck to lose the friendship of which country? Russia. He lost the friendship of a country called what? Russia. Why? By this time, he supported Austro-Hungary to have which territories? Bosnia and Herzegovina. And he turned against Russia's wish. This made Russia to turn against Bismarck's alliance. Bismarck feared that what if Russia cooperates with France and they attack me today? Bismarck, as a strategic politician, he went Otto von Bismarck and convinced Austria to make another alliance. That was the dual alliance. They agreed in the alliance that if one of us is attacked, we must join hands together to fight a common what? Enemy. So the dual alliance was also a feature of Bismarck's external policy. Then the 1881, the renewal of the BISMARCK'S Treaty. Bismarck feared that what if Russia cooperates with France and they fight me today? He went and convinced Russia and told Russia, my friend, God tells us to forgive and forget. Forgive me today and we renew our alliance. They renewed the BISMARCK'S Treaty. And in this, Bismarck was successful because he promoted Germany's supremacy over Austria and Russia. And by this time, this was a great feature of Bismarck's external policy. Then the 1882 Triple Alliance. 1881, two Triple Alliance made Italy to join Bismarck's alliance system. By this time, you realize that Italy and France were fighting over which country? Tunisia, all together. And by this time, Bismarck supported an enemy to take over Tunisia. Who was that enemy? He supported an enemy to take over Tunisia. In politics, it's a game of chess, my friend. A man supported an enemy to take over Tunisia. And by this time, it is said when he supported an enemy to take over Tunisia, he wanted France and Italy to conflict in where? In Tunisia. And it was likely that Italy was going to come to him asking for what? Assistance. And by this time, as Bismarck calculated, Italy came to him telling Bismarck that France is fighting me in Tunisia. I need your support. Then Bismarck put conditions on table that if you need my support, join my what? Alliance. And the dual alliance became Triple Alliance. That's how calculative Otto von Bismarck was. Then the 1884 to 85 Berlin what? Conference. What happened in Berlin? It is said Germany didn't have interest for colonies. You remember Germany didn't have interest for what? Colonies. But the industrialists in Germany wanted raw materials. The question is, how were they going to get the raw materials without having what? Colonies. Bismarck, as a strategic and a tactical politician, called the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 85. He wanted to convince the powers that, my friend, we don't need to fight. We need to sit and share. A man who entered the race very late. He was the chairman in distributing territories. Can you imagine? And colonies. What happened in the Berlin Conference? Bismarck of German made German to get Tanganyika and what? Togo, all together, among others. So we are saying Bismarck was a tactical politician. So among the features of his external policy, he called the Berlin Conference of 1884. Then the 1887 Secretary Insurance Treaty. Bismarck had annoyed Russia so many times. And by this time he feared still Russia to cooperate with France to fight against him. What Bismarck did, he signed a secret treaty with a country called what? Russia. The game was, he told Russia that I support you in the Balkans. I don't support Austria. But in this case, he feared that if Austria knew, Austria could turn against his what? Alliance. So he made that treaty sacred in quotes. He signed the sacred insurance treaty, and he told Russia that we need to revive our friendship. God tells us forgive and forget. Forgive me today. And by this time in the sacred insurance treaty, he convinced Russia that I support you in the Balkans. I don't support what? Austria. But he made the treaty sacred because he didn't want Austria to do what? To know. And by this time, this was the great feature of Bismarck's external what? Policy. Then the Heligoland Treaty of 1890. What happened in the Heligoland Treaty? It is said he made German to possess more colonies in Europe by surrendering East Africa. By surrendering East Africa, where we are realizing that Britain had more influence in East Africa. And Bismarck, in this case, he was successful, and it was one of the features of Bismarck's external policy. Friends, let me emphasize this. In the Heligoland Treaty, he made Germany to possess more colonies in Europe by surrendering East Africa, where Britain had more influence in East Africa. I emphasize one Kasoma Farouk of Uganda quote where we say, focus on achieving success. Focus on achieving what? Success. Don't focus on the backbiters, because they are at the what? They are at the back. They are at the back.